Good afternoon, world. It's moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star. Today is October 31st, Halloween Day, birthday of my sweet daughter, Marianne Elizabeth Lynch, born with red hair. Her Aunt Georgia said it was the color of a new penny.
Oh, nice.
And today is episode number 14 of Great and Good News. We're broadcasting live from our palatial studio here on the second floor in downtown Waxahachie in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. And I'm your co-host, Jeffrey Michael Lynch. And it gives me great pride and pleasure to introduce my friend, our host, Scott Brooks.
Thank you, brother. Welcome everyone to Great and Good News. It is Halloween.
All day.
You're even dressed a little bit for it. We're gonna get into it here in a second.
This out of the way.
Yeah, can everybody see Jeff's shirt? Can they see it, Sam? There. Oh, look at there.
There you go.
Oh, it's got the
Salem Witch Trials.
Yeah, very nice. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. There's a ton going on everywhere we turn. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 to 1, noon to 1. You can see us on Instagram. Hello, everybody on Instagram. You can see us on Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. And we love having you here. Hello, Sharon. So join in. There's a great opportunity for you to be able to share your thoughts. You can just comment and we can see the comments in real time. You can call us up there. Is our phone number above the elephant named Big Al, and Jeff will tell you our phone number.
972-268-9441. 972-268-9441.
So as we get going today, it's Halloween. It's a beautiful day, beautiful golf day out there.
Gorgeous.
And this afternoon downtown, kids come to the square, and there are kids and families everywhere. They'll be stopping over at the Sun to get all kinds of candy and stuff. But it's Halloween, and so we thought, man, what would be cool to talk about on a Halloween show? And Jeff, which is a great idea. Jeff has a lot of great ideas. Said, let's talk about the Salem Witch Trials. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's a good idea. And the only thing I might add a few things in it, but this is going to be Jeff's to run.
I can't go 15 minutes, so let's.
No, yeah. I'll have some things to say, but I do want to say that back in 1998, I was living in Buffalo. I went to Boston with a bunch of friends
Yeah.
on not on Halloween, but we were there over Halloween, and we decided, you know how guys are, decided we would mess around with the Salem Witch Trial stuff, and we went up to Salem, which is
Yeah.
about 25
Yeah.
minutes miles from Boston, and saw that eerie place. So you hear about it.
It is eerie.
It is eerie. It's freaky, and so I wanted to let Jeff tell you about the Salem Witch Trials and
It's
how
wicked. It's
yeah, what
wicked
happened?
eerie. In October of 2016, my wife and I had been married in June, and we hadn't had our honeymoon, and so we went scampering up there for our honeymoon, and we flew into Boston, and we drove up to Salem and spent the night, and then we kind of toured around that place, and then we worked our way up to Portland and back. But
Yeah.
so, and I bought this T-shirt there, and I learned things about the witch trial that I had absolutely never known. And but just to get us all grounded, um, I went and looked at Webster's dictionary, and they define a witch hunt as intolerance, injustice, and rush to justice. And keep that in mind as we talk, because witch hunting hasn't gone away in our world,
Right.
but this type of witch hunting, thankfully, doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And in now, this is pre-Revolutionary War. This is in the colony days. Okay, so now
Right.
we're in
Yeah, 16
Massachusetts,
late 1600s, right?
1692.
Yep.
From May of 1692 to May of 1693.
Okay. Yeah.
This all occurred. And there was a whole deal about witch fears, and it was a big thing in England even before they came over to the colonies, and it
Hmm.
was it was a paranoia, okay? And but I think it was so high in Salem, it got so out of hand. And here's the deal: over 200 people were accused of being a witch, almost all of which were women.
All right there in Salem.
All in Salem.
Yeah.
Okay, small town.
Yeah.
30 were found guilty, mostly female. They were hanged. And the only thing that ever ended it was clergymen.
Yep.
Thank God for clergymen stepping up and doubting that this was legit. And let's trace back to the root cause. Here's the deal. And they feasted on widows, because in those days, in at least in Salem, Massachusetts, I haven't done a hard dig on the whole Massachusetts colony or the
Yeah.
whole colonies, the 13 of them. But when a widow died, her property and her money went to the politicians in town.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That was just a little, you know, she's a widow. We
Yeah.
don't need, we don't need
We'll
her.
take what
We'll
she,
take
what,
what she's
yeah.
got. Um, so that's the backdrop about it.
Yeah.
And
You know,
then
what's interesting is that you mentioned that the clergy, you know what his name was? It's an interesting name. They called him Reverend.
yeah,
His name was Increase Mather. Increase, like the word increase.
yeah.
Mather,
Sounds
Mather.
like matter.
You know what he was? He was the president of Harvard College at the time,
Wow.
and he was the father of a famed preacher. I've never heard him named Cotton Mather, but he denounced the use of all that stuff. That he called it flimsy evidence to try these women, 19 of them. There were other that were being on trial. The governor stepped in too in May of 1693, pardoned all those who were still in prison. So those who had not already been hanged, the governor stepped in and said, "Hang on a second, this ain't right." And so he pardoned all of them and offered public apologies. The legislature eventually passed a bill that restored the good name of some of the damned and provided restitution to them.
And then in 1992, they built a very nice memorial down there,
Yeah.
and it's right near the cemetery. And any cemetery trip can be a little spooky, but that is really spooky. cemetery. And then when you look at the gravestones, I mean, there's all kind of them from
Right.
1600s, but when you see that cluster of the 1692s
You know, it's the same. It's
boy,
those
you
witches.
in 60
Yeah, and
63.
16. I hear a couple other facts that I thought would be interesting to share. In 1689, the villagers won the right to establish their own church. They chose a different pastor, a former merchant, as their minister. He had rigid ways and demanded compensation, including personal title to the village patronage. Uh, Many villagers vowed to drive Paris out, and they stopped contributing to his salary in 1691. During this tense time, Paris's 9-year-old this is what's creepy. Paris's 9-year-old daughter Betty and her cousin Abigail, delighted in the mesmerizing tale spun by uh, I forget where he came from, but his name is Tatuba, a slave from Barbados. So this guy was in town telling a bunch of stories that had to do with witchcraft and all this stuff. And so these two little girls who were 9 started getting mesmerized by it and made it bigger. And so it just continued to grow. And that's where, for me, it gets really eerie because, in my neighborhood, there's a lady and I think she's single, and her daughter's got a daughter about 9, and she decorates to the nth degree for Halloween and every other holiday. And on her garage, she has a silhouette of a young girl that's got the long hair, like the twins in the
Hmm. Hmm.
Shining. I drive by and that's just creepy to me. Um, but I don't know if you have anything else, but I want to tell you this too. Strange behavior at the time started happening in Salem, and this woman named Betty Paris began having what they called, quote, fits, FITTS, and started acting weird. So did Abigail. Oh, maybe that was the same Betty. Uh, so these girls started being real freaky.
Hmm.
And so that when we went that night, me and my pals up there and went to the cemetery and all that stuff that you were talking about, it gives me chills just thinking about it.
So let's take 1692 and move to history, and we can move to right now today. But I got a stopping point in between, and I want to know if there's any other stopping points I'm not thinking of. Obviously, Donald Trump has, in all of his legal troubles, uh, has called it a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And he's brought that term back big time into vogue.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one other time, big time in our history, that I think was referred to a lot as a witch hunt. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Would it be in the world of politics?
It would be in the world of politics.
Um, I could, uh, no, not precisely, but I mean, I think of Clinton would have claimed that there was a witch hunt after him
He
back
might
in the day.
he might have. The big thing in the 50s, and it goes to our topic from yesterday about communism. In the 50s, when all kind of people were being accused of being communists and being dragged through hearings with the House of Representatives. You
Right.
remember
Yeah. Yeah.
them?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that was big. And um, what else?
Well, if I thought about it, I could probably think of a number of examples of witch hunts. You have a quarterback. We're going to talk about Dak here in a little while. A quarterback could have a bad game, and then the whole world let loose on him. He could say, "Man, there's a witch hunt out for me." If you think about Trump, in the essence of what the word for him uh, in Salem, it was a literal witch hunt. I mean, they were
Right,
hunting
right.
witches and wanted to kill them. Metaphorically, it's now used to say people are after me for what. In the analogy of similarity is that, as I just read, that the governor pardoned these remaining witches because the evidence was flimsy, as it
Right.
says here, and really weak. And so when you think about Trump or anybody else that wants to claim it was a witch hunt, the implication is that I'm under a witch hunt here because not only are people after me, but what they've got to prove
Right.
is flimsy at best. And when you think about whether it's all these court cases, the Atlanta, Fannie Willis, and New York City, and all this, it's
Right.
all it literally, in that sense, it's a literal comparison to a witch hunt back then, insofar as the evidence is weak at best. Does that
In-
make sense?
yes.
Yeah.
A rush to justice.
A rush to just yes.
An
Say that fast.
injustice.
Yeah.
An
Yeah.
intolerance.
Yeah. So we I don't know that I've ever felt like there was a witch hunt for anything I've said or done. Although, as we're going to talk about here in a minute, there's some people out for my blood
Right.
because of what I've shared in opinion pieces, but I don't consider that a witch hunt. But it is interesting that the witches. It is a place. If you're ever up, it's a beautiful part of the country, Boston,
Gorgeous.
and
In
Salem.
the fall.
What's that?
In the fall.
Yeah, it's very nice. And of course, October is in the fall, and it is beautiful. And I remember we were all. It was back at a time when I was willing to dress up and act a fool on Halloween. So we were all dressed up and acting stupid and all that. And what was interesting is that there were a lot. I mean, hundreds of people at the cemetery, as though it were a not a rite of passage, but a traditional thing for people.
Yeah.
It's Halloween. We're
That's
gonna
right.
go to the.
In the end of our trip, after we went up to Portland, we came back and we spent 2 or 3 nights in Boston. And I know that we were in downtown Boston, and there was a nice sports bar pub down the street, and so we came in to the sports bar, and the Patriots were playing the early game, and the Cowboys were out on the late game. And here I am wearing my Romo jersey,
Oh no!
my 4X 140 pounds ago Romo jersey.
Right.
Sadly, only 120 now. And Rita's wearing, I think, an Aikman jersey.
Mhm.
And you know how those Boston fans can be a little bit rough, but I'll tell you what, we weren't playing against Boston. And hey, you're from.
Yeah.
They're gonna be on the late game. Da 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 da. They were all very nice
that
to
was
us.
probably the key to your story is that y'all weren't playing.
Well, yeah,
each other,
exactly.
or it wasn't a rivalry.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll tell you what, they
happy
didn't have in
Halloween.
Boston. They didn't have anything you can get at Cancun's.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Exactly. Speaking of that, are we done with
Yes,
Salem? Yeah.
Terry.
Hello, Terry.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween, brother.
Sharon, hi.
So it's time to tell you about one of our sponsors, Cancun's Tex-Mex restaurant, about 2.5 miles north of 287 on 77 here in Waxahachie. One of my favorite places. I say that every time we talk about it. Great service, great food, breakfast, dinner. They got a great bar scene now. They got a beautiful pad, really cool restaurant. It's been in Waxahachie for quite some time. They have Tex-Mex, which means they have steak, chicken fried, steaks. They have great hamburgers, great fries. They have your Mexican menu, part of the menu. They have breakfast. It's just a really wonderful place. Great ambiance.
What's for dessert?
What's for dessert are sopapillas, and here's what you can do: you go to Cancun's, spend $20 or more, which you will, and you get a free order of sopapillas. So go to Down Home app. Go to our coupon section, and you'll find a coupon for free sopapillas.
And our man Terry
great,
says
yeah.
great salsa also.
Great salsa. That's good
All
stuff.
right.
So anyway, Cancun's, thank you for being our sponsor. Visit Cancun. Say Jeff and Scott told you to go there, and we'll all be happy. All right. Oh man, I need to take a deep breath on this one. So this is our column grit segment. I wrote a column yesterday. Sammy, I don't know if you have that up, or if you don't, no big deal. But I wrote a column yesterday that talks about Kamala Harris and titled about that rally. So here's the deal. I don't know if people think I just hear something somewhere on the news and then decide to write a column just based on some quip and add my own spin to it. I don't do that. I spend all day Monday, usually starting on Friday, but I have to send the column into our pagination team on Monday night. So I spend Monday is
Pagination.
yeah, fancy word. Monday's a writing day, so I spend all day writing numerous drafts. So involved in that is researching. So I don't hear on the news or somebody say something that Kamala Harris said to some Christian person yelling Christ is King and Lord, Jesus, and she said you're at the wrong rally, and then just write about it. I go and find out. So I've listened to countless videos.
In question, we talked a little bit about this when it happened. Is it getting any mainstream coverage?
It has on the stations you would expect it to.
Well, yeah, that
But
always did.
but the other ones are discounting it, just like
Uh,
many of the people who wrote about my
and is
column.
Sam going to play the clip? Are we going to have a clip
No,
of it?
no, because it's too it's you have to listen to various ones to be able to
Okay.
understand. But anyway, I want people to know that I go. Not only did I listen to it, I went to a variety of my world of the large metro markets where I used to work. One of them being Washington D.C., one of them being Madison, Wisconsin. This rally was held in Milwaukee to see if any of my colleagues or peers could validate it, verify it. And lo and behold, I did. There were some that were there on their staffs that said that's exactly what was said and is exactly how Kamala Harris responded. Now, you haven't heard Kamala Harris come out and say, I didn't say that about Christians.
Okay.
She's not said
You
that.
haven't told him what it was yet. Then you got to tell him.
Well, the video was that she was speaking, and there were two young men there. One of them shouted, lies, lies, lies. The other one shouted, Jesus is Lord.
And held up a sign.
And yeah, they held up a sign. They were not wallflowers. They made their presence known. And Kamala Harris looked at him and said, you're at the wrong rally. She thought it was funny. Yeah, she started cackling. She thought it was funny. And they got kicked out. So so I wrote the column about how offensive that is to the Christians in this country, which are a lot of people. And so I wrote the column saying that not only is it offensive, it's blasphemous. It's I don't want to be standing near her on Judgment Day when God asked her about that. But my column was received by people. What's interesting is that people who respond to my column and appreciate the sentiments and the opinion and all that will write me or call me or text me. Most of them don't have my phone number unless they call up to the Sun, but they will certainly write me because we post my address at the bottom of the column and share with me what they think because they don't want to put many of them don't want to put their positive comments online because then they'll be attacked. So I got some, positive feedback, but by and large, the negativity, I mean, I don't know how many dozens of comments were made. And of course, people use little emojis. It cracks me up when I see an emoji that's just a laughing emoji because it's almost the equivalent to me of some of kids saying in an argument, well, whatever. That's that. So laughing at something without having anything to contribute is just a waste of my time. However, those comments that, some words are typical, nasty, call name. None of that bothers me. And I mean, I would lie if I said it didn't bother me, but it used to bother me a lot more. It may bother me for 5 minutes and then I can move on thanks to friends and my wife and kids and all that just say whatever. But some of the things were just like, huh? Like somehow turning it and twisting it, spinning it to the Madison Square Garden that was full of hate and I got to tell you for those of you watching, for those of you that write me and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, or she didn't say that, or blah 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 blah. You got to just dig in and find the truth. And to switch it over. First of all, I didn't mention Trump's name once in the column. It wasn't about Trump. It was about Kamala Harris saying to a young man who said, Jesus is Lord, you're at the wrong rally. That's what it's about. And that's what happened. I've been verified it. So,
and then the cackle and then the further statement. Well, there's that other rally up the street,
down the road. Yeah,
down the
which
road.
was referring to Trump's.
Yeah,
I didn't even refer to that. So the point.
Let's not focus on people's reaction as much as get our focus on what it was about her saying it and the implications of her saying it. And the thing that the first thing I thought was, you know, not every comment that everybody makes needs a response. Because somebody says something from the audience, you can easily not respond, and nobody else in the world heard that.
Right.
And so no response is needed.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes back to her inability to think on her feet. And she panics.
Yeah.
She gives a panic response, and it's flippant. Okay. And when you make a wisecrack just always just comes out. It's off the top of your head.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
She thought it was funny,
Exactly.
but there wasn't anything funny about it. And then she wraps it up with that hideous laugh, which is a nervous laugh. It's like when people say or or stutter instead of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Yeah.
Twitter laugh.
Yeah, I agree.
So beyond that, let's talk about what it meant, what she
Well, we're
said.
talking about somebody who is running for president of the United States. She was appointed to run for president of the United States. She did not earn the position to run the right or the privilege, not the right, the privilege to run for the president of the United States. She was appointed. And so, but be that as it may, we're talking about one of two people who are going to be chosen president of the United States of America. The United States of America, as we all know, we all should agree, is based on godly principles. That's what the founders of this country based the Constitution on. And so one of our leaders, potential leaders, and I use the word with quotes around it, is in essence saying, God is not in my circle. God is not in my world. And as such, I want to lead the United States of America, the most powerful country on the face of the earth, in what is a style and a way that does not include God. Now she'll come on, or she'll have an appearance, or she'll say, "I'm a Christian and I pray twice a day and all this other stuff." But you said to somebody in a public forum, and you're right, she didn't have to say anything.
No.
But she says you're at the wrong rally as somebody who says Jesus is the Lord. That's what she did. And anyone that wants to debate that, come on here and let's debate it. But that's what she did, and I have verified it. And so that's what bothers me, is that we got a country here that's got to turn around. And she's right when she says, let's turn the page. Where she's wrong is that the page we got to turn, she's the page.
Correct.
And, but that page that we turn to must be one that at the very top of it, and in like a watermark color, in the very background of everything we do, must be the presence of God, the principles of God. And that's the only way we're ever going to prosper. I would suggest and say that the reason we're in such a state that we are, both societally, both governmentally, academically, all these things, is because we have booted God to the curb. And then we wonder, some of us wonder, why are we having so many problems? Well, we've kicked the designer of the world out of it. And we do not need a leader in the government who doesn't espouse godly principles. One other thing I'm going to say is that part of the response was, well, do you think Trump is godly? I mean, where's your assessment of Trump? Well, I've never said that Trump is Jesus, nor have I ever said that Trump has exemplary behavior. But let me tell you, there are a list of people, men and women in the Bible, who God chose to change the world, who were some of the worst people at points in their life ever. Paul, as we talked about the other day, Paul was a murderer. He murdered Christians. King David, was a philanderer. He committed. He cheated. He had an affair. The woman he had an affair with became pregnant, and he wanted to cover it up. And by sending her husband to the front lines of a war, knowing he would be killed, and he was killed. And God said, "You know what is gonna happen to you? That baby's gonna die." The baby did die, and you got to pay the consequences, whatever that is. the sorrow, the depression, the discouragement, whatever, you're going to experience it. David was a drunk sometimes. He acted crazy. Uh, Peter, one of the great apostles, denied Jesus. Said, "I don't know." When the authorities were after Jesus and they were looking for him, he, they said, "Where do you know this man Jesus?" And Peter, the name Peter means the rock. Said, "I don't know Jesus. I don't know Jesus." And denied Christ. And I could go on with countless examples of men and women who have. I'm an example of that. I've been really wayward in my life, but by God's grace and mercy, I'm able to still have a chance. So when people say, "Well, how can you pull for Trump?" Well, Trump has a chance. Trump has not denied Christ. He's not said you're at the wrong rally. Matter of fact, he said quite the opposite. And uh, and so anybody that comments, I would say to you, what is the old proverbial statement? Those, you can't, those with no sin are the ones that can cast a stone.
He
You know,
he who is without sin
yeah,
cast the first stone.
right.
I had an epiphany here about something that has bothered me all this time about the whole abortion issue.
Yeah,
And I've been struggling with the uh, right, women's right to their own body. And you know what? Here's here's what I've just figured out. Nobody says you don't have a right to your own body. What we are saying is you don't have any right once you got a baby inside you.
yeah,
You don't have you don't have the right to make decisions for that baby. And like so many things, we make our decisions based on the small group, not the big group. And all these different versions of what an abortion law should be. When does it first start? Da 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 da.
hmm
But um the
you're right. You're right about that. It's interesting. There is a law in this country, and I don't know what state it's in. It may be in Florida, but I think it's on the East Coast. There's a law that says if you kill a baby sea turtle, a certain kind of turtle that's in the shell, you will be prosecuted, and it's a crime. Yet we don't do anything about human children
yeah,
in the
and
shell.
and maybe rape,
Yeah,
incest, and mother's health are exceptions,
sure.
but I'd have to somebody can do some research. I can't believe that those three categories make up a very large percentage of all pregnancies. And so that's the whole thing about our rights.
Yeah. Yeah. So to bring it back to close on this is that we've got to have God in the White House, in my
Yeah,
opinion, and that's what my opinion was. One guy said, "This is not a news article. How dare you write a news article like this? This is more of an opinion piece." Well, I want to say, you know what? No kidding, Sherlock. It's
mm,
on the opinion page. It says opinion page at the
yeah,
top. That's my opinion.
right.
And one last thing I'm going to say is that somebody asked me there, a legitimate question, very respectfully written, asked me because I made the claim in the column, where else I made the claim that Kamala Harris has infringed on religious beliefs uh, and rights in this country. Somebody asked me, well, what are those? I have those, and I'm happy to share. We don't have time now. I'll reserve it for maybe next week. We'll see what happens. But if anyone wants those things sent to them, I'll be happy to provide the data and the reference and the research that show, as Attorney General, as Vice President, the things that Kamala Harris and as Senator, the things that Kamala Harris has done that are direct infringements upon religious beliefs. All right.
There you
So
go.
with that,
Let's talk about plumbing.
plumbing.
And when we think plumbing around here, we think Mr. Rooter. They're our newest sponsor. And let me tell you a little bit about them. They've been around since 1970. That's 54 years. They're all over North America, but they've got local ownership. Sam's got a picture up that I just saw the other night driving down 77 of a Mr. Rooter truck coming down the street. They do both residential and commercial. And when you call Mr. Reuter, you can depend on getting licensed experts, insured plumbers, guaranteed parts and workmanship, courteous uniformed professionals, convenient appointment times, and you're always going to get friendly treatment, and you're going to want them back. If you ever need them, you're going to take care of the problem. They're going to make it good. And if you need them for something else, they'll be back. And they're going to arrive on time. They're going to keep your home clean with mats and shoe covers. They're going to provide you a price before they start. They're going to deliver high quality, durable repairs. And they're going to stand behind their work for your peace of mind. So for the few times you need them, you'll want them again. They also will do remodeling and make your bathroom look like it's brand new again. And you can get a hold of them at 469-214-5179. 469-214-5179, or on the great World Wide Web at mrreuter.com/Waxahachie.
Very good.
Boom.
You know, I saw a video the other day, a town, it's not in America, but somewhere overseas, a sewer line in the city busted. It was spewing what comes out of a sewer line 40 feet in the air, it was a geyser. It was a geyser. It was awful. And I thought, how in the world, how did that happen? Anyway, Sammy, put up the one of a comparison, not just the two quarterbacks, but all the others, the pay. I sent it to you earlier.
We're here to talk about Dak Prescott.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I sent it to you. It's in your email. I sent you that, and Sammy's got to see if he can find it. So Dak Prescott,
highest paid quarterback
in the NFL, in the history of the NFL.
Yes.
At $60 million a year. Can you imagine? I remember when $1 million a year was like, holy cow, and I ain't that old. Seriously. I remember when Ricky Henderson earned a $1.975 million a year and thought, how in the world?
You know, you're kind of stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
No. You're taking me right to something I was going to talk about. Do you know how much the engagement ring that he got for his fiance cost?
Oh.
$1 million cotton picking dollar engagement ring.
Holy Moses.
Wow.
So anyway, Dak Prescott, the he said part of today's show is, what do we think about the value of Dak Prescott to the Dallas Cowboys? Which is a key statement.
You start first and keep it short.
So I'm a fan of Dak Prescott. Matter of fact, Sammy, do you have that stuff? Okay. There are two things that I wanted Sammy to show you. One is a list of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL and what they make. It starts with Dak at $60 million down to somebody like actually Mahomes, that area, $45 million a year. The other,
which at one time
he was the
number
highest.
one.
Yeah.
Just like Dak's
not
first,
that long ago.
4 years ago,
Yeah,
he was number
40.
one. He goes down. Mahomes comes in number one.
Yeah.
And we just keep signing new
number
ones.
But I would say my guess is by 2027, we're going to see $100 million in a year athlete.
Well, when the salary cap keeps going up, there's more room to keep going up.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Juan Soto may be approaching that. I mean, Ohtani is a $70 million, although he's got a deferred deal where he makes $2 million a year and gets money later in life. But I think we're going to see a $100 million player.
And the ticket, the cap goes up because the revenue goes up. The revenue goes up because of TV and tickets.
Right.
My seats are 6 rows from the top in the end zone, and I've had them 14 years, and they started at $50, and now they're at $105. And I didn't have any trouble putting them on SeatGeek for the Eagles game and getting 222 to sit in nosebleed.
Right.
But guess what? Philly fans travel.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right, for sure. So I think Dak. The other thing I wanted to be able to show you was that it's a comparison prior to this year. The 50 previous. Do you have it? All right. Sammy's got it on the screen. Prior to the beginning of this year, 50 games, the previous 50 games, a direct comparison between Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. And when you look at that, it shows that Dak is as good as, if not better, in the key categories of performance than Patrick Mahomes. So I use that. I think Dak's a likable guy. He gets a little platitude, always trying to say the right thing. Sometimes I think he's gotten away from that, which is good, but um, he's always buttoned up and stuff. Needs to let loose sometimes. But I think he's a good quarterback. He's not the problem. Neither is Mike McCarthy. That's a discussion for another day. But Dak is not the problem. The problem is the culture that Jerry Jones has created. Booyah.
Booyah. All right. Figures lie and liars figure. And you've been lauding for some time about his stat on total passing yardage. And well, first let me say this. When he came in for Tony Romo and lit the world up on fire, I guess ignorance was bliss, and he's never been as good as he was in his early years. And when he had that gruesome injury, the fact that he could come back at all is unbelievable. But he does not have nimble feet. He does not know how to escape pressure. He cannot rush effectively. And although in 2024 he is third in total passing yards, those are the garbage time when you're behind and they're playing the prevent defense because they don't want too many bombs against them, and you can rack up a lot of passing yards. But there's a little something that they use. It's been around for quite a while before advanced metrics came around called quarterback rating, and it's an obscure set of stats all put together, and it's the Bible on how quarterbacks perform.
Right. It is.
And 153 is an odd number, but that's the most you can be. And his quarterback rating this year is 84, which puts him 23rd. Okay. His completion percentage is 63%. That is 23rd. His number of touchdowns passing is 10, which is 14th. His interceptions of 8 is 4th, and it would. There's 3 people with 9, so he's darn near tied for first. But he lucked out, and he's 4th. They got a stat called success percentage, and I don't know what it really measures, but he's 15th in that rating. Okay. His average yard per pass is 7 yards, which is 21st. His long pass is 65, which is 14th. And his rushing total is 47, which is 24th. So when it comes to this year, and you can see their record and you can see their performance, and
well, let me ask you.
Right.
So when you read the stat that says he is, what is that one?
Long?
No, short. His average is 7 yards.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? When you think about it as a football player, if a quarterback usually throws a short pass, if it's designed, but the other way they throw short passes, they don't have any time. Right. So
I can't put it all on him for that. That play calling is a factor there too.
So
No
the
doubt.
offensive line is a sieve right now. So and you're right, he's immobile. That's the biggest problem I have with Dak. But listen to this: in those 50 games prior to this year, 50 games represents 2.5 years comparison to Mahomes. That they had the same number of passing TDs as they have on the screen there. You can see it. Mahomes had one more interception than Dak. Dak's passer rating was 101.3 compared to 98.9, so he's better than Mahomes. Yards per attempt.
101 is
pass rating.
Yeah, and it's now.
And what is it now? 68 something.
Where'd that go?
It's in there.
84.
Okay.
It's under. He's 23rd in the league.
I think that is a result that
It's
he has
yesterday's
no
news.
time. He has no time to pass the ball. The yards per attempt, that says 7. Here it was 7.5. Mahomes was 7.5, and the completion percentage, Mahomes is 67%. Dak was 68%. So we're talking about Dak. We're talking about the Cowboys are 3-4, driving the Metroplex and the Cowboy Nation crazy. Dak has no time. We didn't invest in the front. Terrence Steele, who's the left tackle, which is the primary defender of Dak, because it says back, My grandma could have blocked better than Terrence Steele. Furthermore, we don't have a defense that can stop players, so we don't get much time on the field as an offense. It's just driving me crazy what Jerry Jones has done to this. We don't have a running game.
I know that.
We don't have a so the other team can say, okay, they're not going to run the ball, so we're just going to blitz and we're going to take care of Dak. He has no
Do you think
time.
do you think better players around you would make a difference?
Oh, I know it would.
Okay.
It would take him back to that.
All right, and let's talk about that then too, because the vaunted leadership of Dak. You know, when the Dodgers won the World Series last night, Ohtani, who had been so huge in the whole series and didn't do as much after he got injured midway through the series. But if you recall, he signs this mega contract and he says, but give me $2 million a year and defer a ton of it so I can have better players. And guess how that worked out? Great.
Yeah.
Tom Brady did the same thing at Tampa Bay,
Right.
took a so-so team and got him to the wild card. I took a deep dive into stats on this one. I went to the salaries of everybody on that team, and I started with the bottom up, and I went to players making less than $1 million a year. 53-man roster. How many make less than $1 million?
Maybe one or two.
How about 20 of them?
Really?
Okay. And then I said, well, let's go to 2 million because I know Zeke gets 2 million. How many between $1 million and 2 million? Another 16 of them. Another 30%. So now you've got 68%. 36 out of 53 making less than $2 million. What about sharing the wealth?
Well,
but what do you do instead? What do you do instead? You give your wife, your baby mama, who you've gotten engaged to now, $1 million engagement ring, and you've got 38% of your players making less than $1 million. That's strong leadership. Now, let's talk about the timelines.
You better hurry up.
Of what's happened this year. On Wednesday, October 9th, he demos his mansion.
Yes.
Okay. On Sunday, they get killed by the lions. Do you think when you tear your house down on Wednesday, you got a lot of stuff on your mind besides the football game on Sunday? Where are we going to live? Where we're keeping all my stuff? What's going on?
Should he have had it demoed on Monday?
He should have done it not during the middle of the season when the team's floundering. Then on Saturday, October 19th, he gets engaged during the bye week. And then on Sunday, they cough up a hairball against San Francisco.
Well, you
oh my God! Oh my God! Where is your head? Where is your priorities, dude?
Part of that too I say that to myself when I hear about every sport has this. The players will often be delayed because they can't start the season because they had surgery. I'm thinking, well, why not have the surgery when you can be ready? Right. But I would say this: Jerry Jones. I bet you Jerry Jones hadn't gone to Dak and said, "Hey, what do you think about this arrangement?" So we can take care of our more players. Terry says, I'd love to see the Cowboys get Gian. There's an A in there. Giantry from Boise State. I think they may. They may because that's probably. I shouldn't say that. You never know what Jerry's going to do.
That's all the equivalent we can do because we got 14 minutes. We got to get a good poem in history in.
So yeah, tell us your poem.
Okay, so Sam's going to pull it up, and the reason I selected this poem was because of what you've got going on this week with putting your dog down. What page did I say it was on, Sam? 63? 63.
Okay.
And so this was written in February of 2022. Our dog we'd gotten in September of that year. It had been born in June. So you're talking about a dog that's about 8 months old. And she's driving me cotton picking crazy. And my tolerance for puppyhood is getting lower and lower.
I don't have any.
Every day.
Yeah.
And God bless my wife. I'm glad we have this dog now. And we would only have this dog because she wanted this dog to replace another great boxer that she loved. But that being said, here we go with Too Much is Too Much. Enough is enough, and too much is too much, my grandmother Nellie did say. buried for 62 years and still apt today. The enough part brings me to the tough part. I lost it today over a puppy misplay. See, our sweet hound Layla has become quite a digger, and my darling bride is a big forgiver. Judging by the size of each hole, our precious digger digs with vigor. Fixing the damage is taking its toll. The fix is the easy part. It's curbing my anger. It pulls at my heart. My wife says dogs are like us. We all have our traits. But why does this dog have a trait that I hate? Does her boundless love make up for the digs? Is her digging up holes an issue that's big? First world issues, as one brother often does describe. Yes, my dog troubles are a minor issue. Glad I don't live in a starving tribe.
Yeah.
This pet has her shortcomings. I surely do too. But expecting perfection is what we can't do.
Yeah. Raising a puppy is tough. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm not going to talk much about it because I'll get emotional, but today is October 31st. Tomorrow, with our sweet, beautiful, precious 11-year-old Maggie, we are going to send her to God tomorrow, and have more to. I'm going to write about it, and that's that.
That's it.
Okay.
We're going to move on to today in history. Sam's got it up there. You know,
Oh, we got to wait.
what
We got to tell our third sponsor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we can't forget.
No.
We can't forget our friends at. Oh, that's not it. What happened to the page? When did I do it?
Pier
Pier 7.
Pier 7.
Pier 7 Seafood. Somebody like me, I may have. What did I do with it? Well, anyway, Seafood. Pier 7. There it is. Pier 7. Seafood restaurant on 35 there by In-N-Out Burgers on Lancaster. Is one of our sponsors. Pier 7 is not really that old, maybe a couple of years old, if that. Wonderful restaurant, great seafood, lots of different choices. They've also got some coupons. You spend $30, you get 12 calamari. You spend 50, you get one order of egg rolls. You spend 100, you get a free order of shrimp fried rice. But it's all there for you at Pier 7 if you like seafood. That's the place to go, and we highly encourage you. The food is great, ambiance is great, like at Cancun's as well. So Pier 7 on 35 in Lancaster, not far from In-N-Out Burgers on the east side
There you
of
go.
the highway. All right,
You got.
there you
Okay.
go. All right,
You get a 7-year leeway either direction when you make a guess.
and your record this morning was what?
I went 8-3.
All right, well,
Okay.
I can beat that.
And I had a couple of bonuses, and you get a bonus for a particular fact.
Being exact.
Being
right? Yeah.
exact or a particular fact. And
Okay.
so we have a bonus available on this one, plus getting an exact. President Abraham Lincoln signed a proclamation making Nevada the blank number state 8 days before the presidential election. In other words, were they the first state, the 50th
Oh,
state?
yeah.
1862. 1862, Sam? 1864. I got the bonus, and
You got the bonus?
I got
Nice.
the bonus on that. All you had to do was figure what they said days before the presidential election. You knew his first election was in 1860. You added 4, boom. And what number state was Nevada?
I don't know.
They were the 36th
36.
state. Okay.
They better vote red.
And then oddly, we go to the Lincoln Highway. The first automobile highway across the United States was dedicated. I had no idea on this, and I got it wrong.
Say it again.
Lincoln Highway, the first automobile highway across the United States, was dedicated. We did not have
Ooh.
interstate highways then.
So this was, yeah. So,
Sam?
oh my goodness, 1919.
1919? 1913. You both get.
Nice.
All right.
2-0.
Work was completed on the Mount Rushmore National Memorial in South Dakota, which was begun in 1927. When was it finished?
Well,
was
first
it?
of all, Sharon and Terry are playing. Sharon just got one wrong. So, ha 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 ha. When was Mount Rushmore finished?
Finished. It was started in 27.
1942.
1941.
I am 3-0, baby. Sharon got lucky. Oh, no, she missed it too.
Earl Lloyd of the Washington Capitals became the first African American player to play in the NBA. Lloyd would go on to play for 9 seasons, winning championships with the Syracuse Nationals.
I'd say 1956.
1950, I got the bonus on a wild,
Did you
wild
really?
guess.
I'm 4-0.
Okay. The body of Joseph Stalin was removed from Lenin's tomb as part of the Soviet Union's de-Stalinization drive.
Stalin. No, man.
Stalin was removed from Lenin's tomb as part of the Soviet Union's de-Stalinization drive.
1981.
1961.
Oh, man.
I picked 58.
That
I
was
got
the year I
that
was
one.
born. Okay.
Indira Gandhi,
Mm-hmm.
India's prime minister for more than 15 years, was assassinated by 2 of her own security
I
guards.
remember.
How well do you remember?
No. 1996.
84.
4-2. That's hurting. Okay. Sharon, you need to Google a little harder.
Egyptian Air Flight 990, bound from New York to Cairo, crashed off the Massachusetts coast, killing all 217 people aboard. Egyptian Air Flight 990 from New York to Cairo.
1993.
1999.
Oh, I still got it. Sweet.
President George W. Bush nominated Judge Samuel Alito to the Supreme Court.
Sammy? I'd say 2005.
2005 is correct.
Booyah.
Booyah.
6-2. That makes me 7-2. Okay.
The United Nations estimated that world population had reached 7 billion people. Today, the world population is greater than 8 billion.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
what's I got to tell you what.
The year
Oh.
that the United Nations estimated the population had reached 7 billion.
Oh. What was the last answer? Was 2012.
2011.
Man. Is that it?
That's it.
8-2. What were you?
I was 8-3.
Well,
I had 2 bonuses.
Okay, I got you. 8-2. Booyah. Sharon, you were 0 for 15. Sharon is going too fast. She's cheating, Terry. Let me tell you, don't think all that sweetness you see and hear. She's in there Googling away. Her fingers are probably hurting. Anyway, all right. So now we have our new meme of the day, and Sammy is going to put it up on the screen. I'm going to read it to you, but I got to find it first. And that would be, Sammy, I sent that to you, didn't I? Let me find it. Is it on the screen, Sam? Yep. Well, you can see it on the screen, and basically it says, this whole idea about Christians stepping out or being out of politics is not acceptable anymore. It's really never been acceptable. It doesn't mean you have to be a politician, but and Jesus never stayed out of politics. Jesus was involved in the current culture of his day and society, and that's the same thing being said here. If Christians don't have, that's how we started the show. If Christians don't have some involvement in society, in leadership, in government, in politics, in sports, and whatever, then we're gonna be godless, and we can't afford that. So step in, be a part, be bold, and I think we'll be a better country. All right.
There-
So with that, is there anything else? We got a minute. Is there anything else we need to talk about? We know today's Halloween, so downtown is this afternoon is all the little hellions running around like crazy, getting candy. We spent $240 on candy, and I'm expected to walk by it to my office without reaching in every time I do. That ain't happening. I've had more Reese's in the past 24 hours than I've had in the past 24 years.
Oh, you spent that at your house or here?
No,
at the
here
Sun?
at the office.
Okay, so I've asked you this 4 times probably, and I get the same answer. How many
No, I
pumpkins
don't
do you
have a
have?
pumpkin. I don't have a
How
pumpkin.
can you not
Oh.
have a pumpkin?
I think Kennedy bought a pumpkin. Yeah.
Huh.
By the way, I haven't said anything, but that one's kind of weak. That's like a Charlie Brown pumpkin.
Well, that's just a little something for the table. How many big boys do I got at the house?
You have enough room. Look on your screen. You have enough room for a big pumpkin. But pumpkins, I mean, I don't know. Kennedy said she was going to buy a pumpkin, and there's probably one out on our thing. Patio.
Out of the 10 in front of my house right now, how many am I carving as soon as I go home?
0.
I'll guarantee you 5. I'll guarantee you 5, and I'll send you a picture that you can post on election
Yeah, I
day.
do.
We forgot.
Do you have an electric carver?
No.
Or you do it the old fashioned way?
There
You
is
do it
such
the
a
Paul
thing.
Bunyan
There's
way.
such a
I
thing.
don't know. You were going to say something about election day, yes?
Well, it's Tuesday.
Yes. So if you haven't voted
and we have a show
on Tuesday,
are we still doing it?
we're doing our show.
Could we be criticized for keeping people from the polls because they had to stay home and watch our show?
No.
Remember, you can watch our show later on. Okay.
And tomorrow is the last day for early vote. Today and tomorrow, you can early vote, which took me 5 minutes the other day. But if you don't do it today or tomorrow and you haven't voted, then you can only vote next Tuesday, starting early in the morning. I would say probably 7, I think, is when it's open. And there are several voting places that you can go. So very important.
Okay, since we got extra time, you're going to have to suffer through an extra
You better
poem.
hurry because we got like 30 seconds.
And this is a short poem. It's called Election. I read it earlier this
Read it.
October.
Go for it.
Reflection, election, dejection. These terms go hand in hand. Come November, we vote across this land. So do your civic duty, even if your choices are kinda pooty. If you don't like the choice, just be glad you have a voice. If you want to be heard, you may have to stand in a herd. We celebrate democracy, a revolt from English monarchy. Sure beats a dictatorship where one big boss runs the ship. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. You have a chance to have your say. If you want to complain, you're free to run for office. Now you're the one who must explain. We've got mail-in vote, early vote, or stand distanced. This was in 2020. In the big line. Take your pick. I don't want to hear you whine. Thank you. Here in 2020, you may not like either ticket, but if your folks lose, please be peaceful if you decide to pick it. Remember, don't write a check. You can't cash. Boom. 2 poem day.